probably is Sage Construction Management, or you might hear me use the acronym SCM for short. Really going to go over kind of a few PowerPoints just to give you a high-level understanding, and then we're actually just going to go right into the system and show you a click-through or a demo of that particular solution. And as Amy mentioned, please feel free to put all of the questions into the chat. I'll try to monitor that as well, or we also have some time at the end to go through any questions that can also come up. So when I'm looking into SageCM, I kind of ask myself, really what is this, or where do I see the value for a lot of the organizations out there? And there's a lot of different points that SageCM will help you out with, even on the estimating, the project management side, or even out in the field with the TeamLink portal, and we'll talk a lot more about this. But when we talk about the estimating and lead tracking, a lot of times it comes up of, well, can SageCM do, RFPs, bid packages, requests for proposals, or even create an estimate from there? And again, we're going to kind of go over a lot of those different workflows of how to be able to create the initial bid, how to send out a proposal, or even track all of the bids from your vendors and update the quantities of that. So again, we're going to go through a lot of that estimating and lead tracking process. Now, moving over into more of the operation side with the Sage system or SageCM, we're going to be able to track not only the prime contracts, we're going to be able to do the different contract types such as lump sum, fixed price, unit cost, be able to capture all of your estimates or your budgets, so we can have the contracted amount, any change orders, the labor hours as well, be able to, going in obviously to the change orders, be able to go through the whole change order management. We're starting off at the RFP and going to regular change order, the different stages with those. Also present complete style of tracking as well. And then once all this is done, we're going to export all of that either for any reports that we need to see. And we're going to go show you some of the reports and dashboards as well. Now, when we go into the next slide and we start talking about really kind of even further back, what is SageCM or Sage Construction Management? Well, Sage Construction Management is a cloud-based platform. It has various avenues, as we've mentioned up at the top, where you can have the access to this information, whether it's on a browser base, which we'll show you a lot, or even the mobile side of things, which we're also going to show you. And that's where the estimators can go in there and create those proposals. RFPs, bids, operations can do the same to be able to reference any documents or anything like that. The TeamLink is going to be more for those external partners. So when we go out and send those RFPs, not only that those users can respond on an email if they're bidding or not, but they could also log into their TeamLink portal, their portal where they'd be able to see all of the projects that they have assigned to them that they've been awarded, as well as all of the jobs coming out. And then as we know, a lot of this is going to integrate with the accounting system. Now, currently, with our accounting suite, Corcon only has a direct integration with Sage Intacct. That's one of their most robust integrations. But I know coming soon, or coming in 2024, I believe the May timeframe, they're going to be rolling out Sage 100 Contractor as well as Sage 300 CRE integrations. So again, more to come on the 100 and 300 side, but it is currently available with a integration into Intacct today. And with all that being said, let's just dive into it. So first I want to pull up is, this is the home page. So this is where we start off when we're logging into Sage Construction Management. And I apologize, just moving some other things on my other screen. So when we first log into here, as I mentioned, again, it is cloud-based. So anywhere you're going to be able to have that internet access, that cell signal, we're going to be able to access this from that particular device, whether that is your laptop, computer, cell phone, tablet, anything like that. All right. Now, as we go through some of this functionality, do note that each of these users are going to have their own unique login. I'm currently logged in as the administrator. So I'm going to have the power to see and do everything, but you can absolutely set up who has the credibility or credits to see what fields. So if I wanted to just have the estimators only reside in this leads module, well, I can simply grant them access to that. Or if I want to have our operations teams obviously only seeing projects that pertain to themselves, I can absolutely accommodate that as well. So just know you can get pretty granular with a lot of the visibility of who's going to have access or the rights to do what in the system. But when I start off with this home page, what you're actually greeted with is our alerts. The alerts can be something that you guys create, and these could be notifications to specific users of when they have a mile marker due or when something has been created in the field. So in this case, you can see all the different alerts from sub invoice payment to RFP to punch out list. Again, these are just whatever that user wants to specifically see. When you move over to the right-hand side, what workflows act as of workflows are just really kind of like a tier of approval or approval process that you might want to have. Whether that is a purchase order gets submitted and then you need to have those project managers go through and verify everything, that could be a workflow that is created as well. All right. The e-signature side of things will work with the DocuSign. So when you send out contracts or anything that may require a signature, you can track all of those that are under the different buckets or the different stages. So in the case of here, if I want to see all of my documents that have not been completed or have been sent out and not completed, I can view that here. Any of them that also haven't been completed within the last 7 days, I could have a record of here as well. All right. So again, homepage just gives you a lot of these quick action items or quick links to be able to go to various stages of the system. And when we go over to more of a navigation, you're going to look over here on the left-hand side, which is your navigation tree. Right. Moving to our contact management, this is where you'll be able to store a list of all of your contacts. Now, if you are leveraging Sage Intacct, that contact list will be shared between Sage Intacct and CoreCon. So if you add into a list or add into Intacct, just note that that information will also be able to display here automatically, and you're not having to go in and do a duplication of process or anything along the lines of that. Scrolling into the companies themselves, when I want to see a list of all of our companies or all of our contacts in here, I can track these at various stages. I can also create several different filters that I want to view these information by. But if I wanted to go scroll all the way down to the bottom, put in this Strika company. So what we're able to do here is at Strika Concrete, I'm able to see obviously most of the basic information you would have of the contact. The number, the users, their address. You could also see who the active individuals are at the organization, their roles or anything like that. But if you also notice below here, you can see any licenses, classifications, or insurances that you guys want to track. So again, going into that lien waiver process, if someone is expired, you can, this is one of the ways that you could be able to come into their record, update those documents with the correct information. All right. And opening up this, these different fields, just to give you kind of an example, again, we're going to be able to track not only just the name of the document, what type it is, the amount of it, but anytime you see these linked files, this is just a drag and drop avenue that you could take and store any documentation. That documentation could be something from the actual certificate of insurance to the email that was sent out to you guys saying, hey, we have that document, here you go, or we're going to send it out next week to you, stay tuned. So again, linked files doesn't necessarily just have to be images, they could also be any email notifications or any emails that you wanted to include into the system as well. All right. So jumping back, we're going to go down into this cost database. So with cost database, this is where we can track all of the rates, hourly rates with any of the crews that we're working on there or those different types of trade work that you might do. Also, any pieces of equipment that are also located within CoreCon are being tracked in CoreCon, we can track these. Now, where the equipment really will I see a lot of value for this is not on the small side, the small tools and equipment. These are typically the mid-size to larger size, so vehicles, generators, things like that, that you want to track not only how long it's been on the job, but any hourly or any cost rate that you have associated with it. So going into the excavator, again, you're going to see that I'm able to pull in a lot of the basic details around the excavator. So, model number, manufacturing, how many hours you have on it, if you're dealing with a vehicle like a truck, how many miles are you dealing with it, are we owning this, is this owned, or is this rented out, or are we renting this? What is the rate for those accordingly? So again, starting to track a lot of the more high-level information, and then scrolling down to see the run times, how long it's been operating for, how long has it been down for, all of those values to be able to capture. Now, the nice thing with Intact is you'll see here, you can also update the purchase detail, which simply allows us to create a couple reports. And maybe one of those reports could be, hey, I see how much we purchased the vehicle for, but, are we making money still on it, or is it just being repaired 90% of the time? Is it out of commission? So again, it's just kind of giving you some of the analytical tools to be able to see, are we making money on this? Are we losing money on this? You can also track any warranty information that you want to, of when the warranty is going to start, and the initial hours that you have on the vehicle, what you currently have as well. And then as you see below, any sold information here. So again, these could give you that knowledge to say, well, hey, we just sold a generator for 1.5x the value of what we bought it for, and we don't use this other one. Why don't we try selling that one? Again, just trying to give you those insight information to better understand where we're at with all those pieces of equipment. Now, the nice thing with all the equipment is, even though we're capturing, what we purchased at all of those prices, we could still build out a service record or service history. So really where I look at this is, if you guys are using in-house, you have your own service department in-house and you do all of your maintenance yourselves, you could track as a kind of a log what you've replaced on there. So your technicians will then be able to come back into here and say, hey, it looks like we have a repeating wiring issue with something, and we need to go address that or dig a little deeper into what the cause might be. If we're going out and sending this service out or sending a vehicle out to be serviced, again, it's just another way to track everything that's happening on that. So I could see all of my maintenance costs on there. I could build in some of those reminders as well. You could even have field technicians update this and say, hey, high priority, lights are out on the front end loader. We need to address those immediately before we're able to continue on working on it, whatever the case might be. And then as you see here, we're going to be able to track costs, not only cost of if we bought in all the prices, but if we also have this and we send this out to something like CAT to go ahead and service, or Ford, or whatever the organization is, we can track everything like that. All right. So again, that was just some of the more intro stuff. Now I really want to dive more into things around the estimating workflow and the lead generation, the lead process. So with this, if I open up my leads module, you're going to see it pulls us up to kind of their lead homepage, if you will. Lead homepage will give us the information of how many active leads are out there. Over on the right-hand side, if you have any due dates that are being scheduled or scheduled to come up this month, you're able to reference that either on a month or a week view, depending upon your preference. So I know that we have, in this particular case, if I wanted to click directly into one of the Farmington projects, school systems, I can see that we have a bid due on that particular case, right? Now, backing up to all projects, again, that's one way to navigate directly to a project. If you also want to see a list of all of the projects, you can simply hit all activity, opening up a list of all the active projects in here. And just like before, filtering or creating kind of like mini queries, if you will, we're able to create those filters to be able to see, show me everything that is under, my bid stage, my submitted, lost, or awarded. So if we're going to check in any documentations from a year ago and I want to be able to see, hey, we did a job similar and we ended up making money, what did we do there? How do we estimate that out? Again, we're able to run a lot of those queries, if you will. So going into the Farmington Elementary School, taking a look at this homepage, a lot of different ways to navigate to different functionality within the system. You're going to be able to see kind of the key important information. So in this particular case, as a lead, when is the bid due? Have we created the proposal yet? Have we finalized that? Where is the package? So again, able to see a lot of that information. Going into the linked file as well is where we can store any email communications that you might want to be able to track on a particular lead or project. Maybe that's a back and forth communication in the system. Moving over into, again, the general information's pretty straightforward. It's going to capture basic information around this particular lead that we have. And that's also going to be where we start to pull a lot of the different due dates and information that we need to have the project or estimate out by. Scrolling down here, again, favorites are going to be each to those users that are operating in the program. It's not a shared favorites by any means. So this is just one way to allow you to quickly click directly in a specific functionality that you need to. But more or less going into this estimate side down here, and here I can see that I currently have one estimate, save that draft, and I'm able to go into that base bid estimate and see more about this. Now, again, what we'll do is kind of give you a cover sheet, if you will, but all of your estimates can be imported from Excel and then brought into Corpon as well. So even if you're not using Excel, you might be using an actual estimating solution. A lot of those systems will allow you to easily dump all the information out to Excel, and then you could just import that directly into the Sage TM solution. In this case, I want to actually expand on what the estimate is itself. And as we go through here, here's where we're going to start to build out the different cost codes that we have, the different locations, more importantly, all the items that make up of that particular estimate. So as it loads up, you can see here is all the quantity amounts. Now, if ever we're done with it in Excel, we've uploaded it in the system, and then you, in the reviewing process, notice something that you want to add, tweak, manipulate, well, you can absolutely be able to edit all of these. You can even add on to different items if you want to after it's been imported in. So you can just, again, have that flexibility, that capability to really tailor it without having to constantly take it, pull it in, dump it back out, manipulate it in Excel, and go through that manual back and forth process. Moving into the bid management, here are a few bid packages that I was creating. One of them was the plumbing, HVAC, and earthwork. We're going to look at the plumbing, but just like a lot of the system, you're going to see it's going to have a good summary of how many companies are out on that, how many have submitted, if they're going to be billing that or not, and then we're able to open up what that bid package would also look like. So in this particular case, again, a lot to look at, but what this is going to allow us to do is simply say who has responded, how many people have not responded as well to this particular package. And then as we scroll down, you can see in this bidders tab, each individual bidders that we have out here, right? Again, just like anything before, you can always import and add bidders. Those bidders could be from either a previous ITB that you've created, or you can even hit this drop-down list and just pull from kind of a master list that we had before, which shows us a list of all the different vendors in the system and those specific contacts. And again, you can search that up by specific radius of a project or anything like that that you might need to. All right. Now, once we have, say, the particular vendor, I'm going to put myself in this case. I'm going to simply hit add and close. And then now you're going to see that we've updated this with no response, because obviously we just added myself onto this. And I can actually send out that invitation to be bid with whatever template that I want to be included. So again, even talking about templates, a lot of different ways to create or upload templates into the system. Templates are defined by you guys. You don't need to reach out necessarily to Aktion to create those for you. However, we can absolutely be able to get a resource available to create those. Simply, we see people just leveraging that because they just don't have time to be able to create those. So selecting the template, hitting out OK, and then that's going to automatically email that out to the user to have them go through the process of responding back to that ITB. All right. Again, any communications, any back and forth communications will automatically be responded here. But what this is showing us is what our basic template looks like in the system. So again, you can customize this, you can add to this as you need to on the fly, and then we just simply hit send out, and you're good to go. Now, I'm going to open up another tab on the screen, just quickly jump over to what that's going to look like in the system. So if I pull up this CoreCon, so this is just another example. This is a little different. This is on a transmittal, but users will be able to see exactly that same content so at the previous, and then on your estimate, you're able to click on, are you going to bid it or are you not? Users also could log into their TeamLink portal as well to be able to see, and this is, I'm going to pull up TeamLink for us right here. This is going to be the TeamLink portal that each of your vendors will have access to. And currently I'm looking in at bid opportunities. Now I've selected this on a specific range, but I'm going to go back to be able to see a little bit more, more data in here. So here's, we're going to be able to see all jobs that I could bid at, but in this particular Farmington one, I could also go into that Farmington to see all the locations, submit my bid, be able to see drawings and specs or any information like that. Going into the bid package, again, you can see that I have no response under here, and I'm able to update that on the fly as we need to. So again, that's going to be those vendors or those individuals that you have sent out the bid. That portion we're also going to circle back at when we go into the project side of things as well. All right. So again, I know there's a lot to cover with here, a lot of different fields. I do want to kind of keep it going so we have enough time to cover all the other different modules in the system. But do also know any drawings and specs will also be able to be viewed. And then also on that TeamLink side of things, users will also reference those drawings and specs on the TeamLink with the updated information. All right. So now that we have, we're going to go back into our home estimate. Now that we have the project, the estimate's completed, we've gotten back, hey, it's been awarded the job, we now need to make this into a project. Obviously, we're not going to have you create a brand new project, manually hand key all that information, because you've already created essentially that in your leads. We just need to now convert that lead into an actual project. And a couple ways to do that is either A, again, if you're not tracking it within the system, you can create a manual entry by manually putting in all the values that we had before, project name, basic details around it, the contracts, all of that. Or you could just simply hit lead from project. And when you do that, you're just going to follow a simple wizard that would convert then that Farmington project into an active project, which we would be able to view from here. All right. So this is a list of all of the active projects currently in the system, the individuals who are pertaining to this or are working on the project. And then as we see or we open up, you're going to see these menus. They all look very similar. Obviously, that's by design for continuity's sake. But a lot of the functionality that you've had in the estimating side has now also gotten pulled over. So those same drawings and specs that we want to be able to go reference are now able to be referenced by here. And if you want to change how you're viewing these, you could change it simply from a card style to either simple, more traditional, just individual line items as you go through the system. All right. So scrolling down as well, same thing with the estimate. All of the project has come over. Now that they have converted into our prime contract, so we're able to see the individual prime contract that we have in here, the contracted amount, and then we can open up that exact area to be able to see exactly where we sit on the project, how much has been invoiced out according to that project total, and then obviously your scope of works, the different fields, including under here. Taking a few steps back and going into a few different areas. I know we're going to go into kind of correspondences, some of the documentations, procurements, so creating those bills, those purchase orders from the field, and then we're actually going to go out and create the AIA format based on that prime contract. So going to go into a few different things. Do note all the time and expenses that you guys capture can also be brought in. Typical users will be leveraging the mobile app, which I'm going to show you in a little bit more on that. But we'll add in the leverage the mobile app, and then they can be able to quickly come into here and see time and expenses, who has submitted time, how many has been submitted this week, and then you can reference what has been submitted today and reference the individual time cards as well and all the information. So again, multiple ways to add this. You can either do it time by an individual user. You can also do time for an entire crew as well if you're not going on to that. But this is really where we're going to start to track a lot of those, not only those time, but also expenses. So any expenses that you guys have created or accrued in the field could be uploaded. Some examples of that would be, here's an expense that I created for a gas charge. Simply putting the description, how I paid, the methodology of payment, the value, and then you could require them to upload any images as well into this field, such as a picture of the receipt would be stored under this linked files here. All right. Now, jumping a little bit back into our projects. Loading that up. So once this loads up, and I might have clicked it a little too many times, got a little too happy. So once this loads up, there we go. What we're going to go down into is more on the correspondence and some of the documentation, some of the RFIs, but you will also note where we had the estimating side of things, where it had what the estimate was, what it's been billed out. You'll also have these open items here. These open items could also be anything from checklists, meeting minutes, journal entries. These are more like a quick click directly to see what's been submitted in this past time. So as opposed to opening up in issues, I could simply come directly from here, or I could go into this correspondence overview, which tells us everything that's happening on the project, what's been sent out, what's been emailed out, what's currently happening, and then I could even click the open items. You could also view this in terms of more of a calendar view as well, if you wanted to see that. So again, if you had something due on a specific date, similar to how we had the estimate due date on a project, you're able to track it not only on just this project, but if you wanted to track it across all projects, you could also have that same build out or that same view. Now, when we go into these open items, again, pretty straightforward. In this case, we have two different issues. One was a weather delay, one was a permit delay. Opening up the weather delay is simply just going to give us more information of what might happen. These fields can all be required or asked to be submitted every time that the user goes out and populate that. So if you wanted to include a picture of it, why there's a weather delay, here's flooding in one of the rooms, here's a picture of that, or any incidents like that can all be captured throughout the solution. Same thing with the RFIs or journal entries, same process. Again, we're able to select into those to be able to track the RFI. You're able to even track communications back and forth, or if any RFIs are based on a previous one, we're able to see that, like we have this concrete rating here. We have a communication out saying, hey, there's going to be something happening, and then a communication as well coming back in directly from that email source, responding to any of that. All right. And capturing everything that we need to have. What's the request field, the individual respondents as well. And then if I wanted to be able to view all that or respond directly out of the Sage Construction Management, you can do any of that communication or that response directly out of the platform. And just like we saw earlier up here in the transmittal field, it will be able to create templates or verbiages or anything we really want to. Anytime users as well respond back into the email, such as this transmittal, all of this can be tracked or automatically logged in the system. And if the system doesn't recognize who it's from or what project it pertains to, it will go to this little email bucket that you see here that simply would just kind of act as a storage of any communications can be logged into here, and then you can assign it to where it correctly goes, what project that this is associated to. So again, a lot of it's done automatically, but the ones sometimes, those one-off, those incidents that might occur, you have kind of a safety net on that as well. So jumping back into my project side of things, coming down here, again, a few things to create when we're dealing more on the procurement side of things. So with these different fields, again, all of them will have kind of a center main hub, if you will, to let us know what's currently happening, where the vast majority of these transactions are, as well as you can go down to see anyone that needs to be pending. This also can take play, or this is where I also would go back into those workflows I previously showed you at the home page. So we can have all of these, anyone that needs to be approved by an individual can go directly to that specific user that you've defined, saying, hey, they need to approve this particular purchase order, they need to approve this subcontractor or this invoice or whatever the case might be. So in the case of a purchase order, again, I'm just going to use one that we've already had as an example of it. But simply what we have here is I went and added new or added from the field or the mobile app. And as you can see, it's going to summarize, here's the balance, the open balance. But going back to the compliance side of things, you're able to reference, hey, there's some insurance compliances going on with this particular vendor. I'm able to open that up and see what those compliances are, what information is out of date, who's the organization. So as you see here, here are all the different compliance areas that we need to focus on or get up to date. So again, building a lot of that notification, so you guys will be able to see exactly what's happening or who's out of compliance on those different individuals. But with those purchase orders, you're also going to see the prime contract, what that affects. And then again, any comments, anything we want to add in here. And then when we go down to the bottom, this is where we're going to add those individual items. So in this particular case, it looks like we've got one Milwaukee drill on here and for the 241. Again, you could always add into this on your desktop, but you're also going to have the capability to do it from the mobile device and then include any images, again, whether that is the receipt or anything like that, into this. All right. So jumping back, few things to show with the bill side of things. But before I show you that, I'm actually going to open up that Team Link portal again. So again, what we've done here is now switched roles. We are now the outside vendor or subcontractor who's working on the project for you guys. I'm able to see the list of all of the active projects we have. Opening that up as well, you're able to, you kind of get greeted this. Again, same front menu, if you will, but you can see all of your drawings and specs, any photos, any open items that might be, or even any alerts that might be scheduled, whether that is need to update compliance or anything that you want to make that vendor aware of. But going into here and going all the way over to the right is that procurement. Now, simply what we could do is just add one, and it's going to create either using a purchase order or create a bill from an image. I'm just going to say just use it from this and simply hit next. What you do is follow through the wizard to be able to add in all of your values. Now, even if you wanted to create more of a sub invoice, what you're going to do here is you pull in the information, and obviously a lot of this will automatically populate because we've set up those bid packages already for you or those subcontracts for you. But we're able to pull in the actual prime contract, the subcontract, who at the organization is maybe invoicing this project out. So I'm selecting as myself as the example, and then whatever invoice number that I have in my system. Any terms can be included, and then simply hit next. And as you go through these, you're able to add in, or even as you see here, see the values of what your initial contract is at, what you've previously invoiced at, how much work that we're going to invoice out today. So if I want to put in, I'm going to invoice for just another $1,000, you're going to see that's going to run that total, and it's also going to update the percent to complete value as well. Okay, so hitting save and next, and this looks the way I want it to, I'm automatically going out there and saying, yep, I want this to create. And what this will then populate is, if I refresh my menu and go into this subcontract invoices, you can see now I have 4 pending, and I'm able to see the $1,000 one that we had from today, today's date here, and then open up that invoice itself, right? With these invoices, again, you can also see all the compliances, if someone's out of compliance, but be able to scroll down into the original contract, be able to get kind of a better understanding. Have any change orders affected that contract? What's the revision price? How much have they billed out this far? What's the percent that we're currently active by each of the different line items as well, and how much we're retaining. So again, a lot of those fields will be able to get pulled over in here and be able to track here. Again, any logs or any emails that have been sent out directly through the system would also be able to be tracked from here. All right. So jumping back into the procurement side, and I actually want to go into this specific subcontract, and I'm going to scroll down to the one that we had here, which is that Strika. And just like before we had on the overall prime contract, it's going to show us kind of a little meter just to give us a quick understanding or a visual understanding of how we're sitting on this particular project, what percent to complete are we, the different scopes of work, the different line items, the different individual items as well that make up of that contracted amount being captured from here. All right. So again, I know that there's a lot to cover here. There's a lot of areas where we can go deeper, such into creating the change order on that subcontract change order. I'm happy to talk more of those on a one-off basis. Daily logs as well will be all captured through the system. So when we're dealing with the daily logs, typically users are going to be submitting that on their mobile app, but users on the back end are going to want to be able to review all those logs. So I can see that we have one from the 28th, and I'm able to pull all the details. Who the, what activity we worked on. Did we finish out concrete on the 4th floor? Where did we sit? How many quantities of, how many units did we put down if we're trying to capture that? Weather condition as well. Any workforce, so who the users were, who worked on that site. If we've received any materials as well, we can track material delivery into that. And any visitors as well that you want to track on a project, whether OSHA came or whatever the information, the owner might have come walk the job site, or even the architect, whoever we're capturing to be able to track all that information. All right. So jumping back, last thing that I really wanted to go through is with the prime contract or the invoicing out on the prime contract. So I've already created a few different ones here, for example, but we're going to go through and just actually create it manually to show you what that's going to look like. So as I open this up, again, we're going to select what project we're going to be invoicing out under this contract wizard. In this case, we only have an individual prime contract. If you need to track multiple, you can. But in this case, we're going to also put down the individuals. A lot of these fields are also going to be automatically populated based upon the numerical next in line. So as you see here with the next order or next invoice, all those fields are automatically created. You could update retainage as well from here, but I'm simply going to go and hit save and next. And then from here, what it's going to ask us is the different way we will want to do this, the different options. Are we going to invoice this amount on the original contract line items? Are we going to do this on a job cost code to the unbilled? Or is this just invoicing retainage only? So I'm going to select option A. And then as you get here, this is where we're going to start to update a lot of those percent complete values over here that we might see. So going through this, I could include 10%, 20%, and go on and so forth to update the current process or everything that we've worked. Once we've submitted this, and I'm just going to put in some dollar per here, and actually I'm going to go in and put 1,000. So we have that just as a placeholder, and scroll on, scroll forward, and then simply go into add and next. Now, as we created that, now that we're done, you can see exactly what we're going to be invoicing out. If we want to do any unbilled change orders, we can do that. I'm going to say skip on here because that's the option that I've selected. And then now this takes us to that information where we can go ahead and print these out. What that would look like is we can either print out the prime detailed invoice, or we could also do a lien waiver. Again, it's a lot of different abilities to create these templates the way you guys need to see these, as well as the different options, methodologies that you want to see them in. Do you want PDF, email, doc, however you want to view that by, you simply select the correct one, hit OK, and if it's in email, it will automatically get emailed out to those individual users, and then able to download that and do that from here. Now it's going to open it up on my other screen, so just bear with me real quickly. All right, there we go. So again, here's the template that we have of this particular waiver. Again, just to reviewing purposes, it's automatically been populated for us to complete out there. All right. So again, that's a lot of information on the mobile side of things, excuse me, on the desktop side of things. What I now want to kind of open up before I turn it over to some Q&A is just to show you guys insight to how the mobile side is going to act and emulate these workflows. So let me reconnect it on my end and connect. And share. Perfect. About that. So over here, I'm now in the mobile app side of things. And what I'm able to do here is this is where either users can log in time for themselves. They can log in their cruise time as well if they have any crews associated with them. And I can see the different crews that we can include. I can also add new ones as well. So in this case, if a laborer needs to come onto your job site for a specific day, I can hit that add employee and it will add on an individual for that specific day. If I go to my records, this is going to give me kind of a hub of like a quick glance on specific information, any alerts that we have out. So those alerts I could see, oh, I need to send out a drawing or something like that. Those alerts are up to you, the user, but this is also where it can populate that schedule that we have with the week or the monthly view. Any to-dos or any project to-dos as well could also be sent out here, and we can see all the different fields, including descriptions, attachments that we need to include. Down here in the bottom would be all the time cards as well that you might need to review for individuals, what's been submitted today. But if you see in the bottom, I can also see, pending that I have the rights, and with me being the admin, I can see all these. I can see where we are on the lead stage to be able to view all of the leads. I could also see all of the projects where we have our to-dos, our don'ts, our drawings, any correspondence that we need to do, submittals, change orders, or even if I wanted to create a work order or even a daily log, I could create that all from the menu by simply hitting add and then the plus up in the top right. And then we just go through and select what this is going to affect. And I'm going to put this in because I'm a solo typer and hit add. And then you can see we can include any drawings, images. Now, if you hit any drawings, attachments, images, anything like that, all you simply would do is either hit the camera or put from the photo reel, and you just follow the process or the wizard. What activities did we work on? Who are the visitors? These are all those fields. Activities or temperature can also automatically be populated based upon where you're at and the date that we have on the project. Once this is all said and done, you're good to go, and that information will then come all the way back into here for us to then view under the daily logs as well. So you can see here is today's one that we just created. So again, nice thing is as soon as these action items are occurring, essentially all of that's happening in real time. As soon as it takes care, then it's going to update this. So you're staying all up to date, all on the same data source. You're not, one has been submitted, but it hasn't been read up, if you will, into the solution. Now, last thing I wanted to go into is some of the reporting and the analytics side of things. So really, when we start to talk about analytics, these are really not only just reports, but these are views that have been created or predefined that you guys can at a quick glance visually see where you're at, but they have components, if you're familiar with Sage Intacct, to those dashboards that you have there. So you can see exactly multiple reports, views, how are you doing on the particular project. In this particular case, we're looking at an overview using committed cost. So I can see exactly what's been invoiced, the different contract, the prime contract, where we're at with that. Are we overbilling, underbilling? Again, a lot of getting those analytical tools, being able to view all of this information from here. All right. So I know we got about 10 minutes left. I know I threw a lot at you, and there's probably a lot of areas I didn't go to where you wanted to see. So what I do want to say is I'm going to put up my my information here for us before I turn it over to some questions. So again, anyone who's hopping off, I want to thank you for your time. I want to use the remainder of today to go over any questions that you guys have come up. For a lot of those deeper dives, make sure you reach out to your Aktion partner or sales rep, and we're happy to dive into those or even go more in depth on a one-off basis. But with that being said, Amy, any questions that the team has?
Yes, there is a question. How does this connect to Sage Intacct? Is it through a separate connector that needs to be purchased, similar to Procore connector with Intacct, or is there an open API?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Intacct has an open API with it. So essentially all of that information from CoreCon into Sage Intacct will all flow back and forth automatically. What we can do is if you want to reach out to your rep, they can give you a visual detailed mapping of all those different data points as well of what gets pulled over, what gets sent over, what gets pushed back into CoreCon once it's been sent into Intacct. So we could absolutely handle those too as well. Mm-hmm.
Great. Anyone else have any questions? I know there's a lot of content in today's webinar, so feel free to ask me questions. If no one else has any questions, then we will wrap it up for today. As I said at the beginning of the presentation, today's session is being recorded. You will receive a link to the presentation either this afternoon or tomorrow. Your sales rep will be copied on the email that you receive, and feel free to ask them any questions, or if you want a one-on-one demo with Jared and your sales rep, they would be happy to do that for you. Again, we thank you for your time today, and please reach out with any questions you might have.
Thanks, everyone.